Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 10th session of Atma Bodha. Before we start today's program, friends, let us respectfully remember Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati. His Jayanti is on 23rd February. He is the founder of Arya Samaj, founded in 1875, a socio-religious reform movement aimed at reviving Vedic teachings and opposing practices like idolatry and caste discrimination. He emphasized returning to the original teachings of the Vedas, promoting values such as truth, righteousness, and knowledge. But he was critical of the later works. His work is Satyarth Prakash, the light of truth, interpreting Vedic philosophy and human duties. He condemned superstitious practices, fought against social evils like untouchability, and promoted equal rights for women, including education and widows' rights. He advocated the concept of Swaraj, self-rule, with the slogan, India for Indians. Maharshi emphasized the overall of the education system, integrating Vedic studies with modern sciences. His life was filled with a relentless quest for truth, leading to significant influence on modern Hinduism and Indian independence movement. Our deep respects to Maharshi. Today, our Param Vedanta teachers, Dr. Sanjay Banakal, Srimati Mamata Shankar, Srimati Neeta Podar, Dr. Anupama, Srimati Sharmila Bhaktharam will explain verses 40 to 43 of Atma Bodha or self-knowledge. A profound text composed of 68 verses written in the 8th century by Bhagavad Pada Adi Shankaracharya to guide seekers by shedding ignorance and realize their true nature and attain moksha. The text encourages seekers to meditate on the true nature of the self, which is beyond the transient physical existence, and to realize his or her oneness with Brahman. Today's session will be moderated by our revered teacher, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, who, drawing from his vast knowledge, will give us complex concepts in a simple nutshell. To begin with, Srimati Rama Gopal Krishna will help us get back on track with a gist of the previous session. Over to Ramaji.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Harihi Om. Recap of shlokas 36 to 40. The Swarupa Lakshanam of Brahman is repeated in the 36th shloka. Continuing the assertion of the real nature of the self, the persistent practice of its knowledge is mentioned in different ways. The Paroksha Gnanam of Mahavakyam, Tattvamasi, becomes Aparoksha Gnanam to realize that Aham Brahmasmi. Then the ignorance causing the veiling of Brahman within, and its effects like Agnanam and Viparita Gnanam on the self, and self-controlled egoistic thoughts slowly reduce, leading to the knowledge of the self. Bhagavad Pada Shankara reminds us what Taittiriya Upanishad proclaimed, that Brahman is Satyam Gnanam Anantam, or another Upanishad stating Shantam Shivam Advaitam is Jivatma. Both are identical except for Anatma Upadhis of Jivas like body, Jagat, or teacher, etc. In the next shloka, the benefits of nididhyasanam is explained. The constant abhyasa, that is nirantara abhyasta, gnanabhyasa, the practice of reflecting on the Brahman, is emphasized, culminating in the subjective experience and to eradicate all vasanas. Vasanas accrued in the past janmas causes attachment and identification, that is tadatmya bhavam, with anatmas like body, mind, ego, etc. The ego binds a seeker repeatedly to the world of ignorance. A medicine is prescribed to cure diseases, and ultimately it also gets eliminated from the body. Similarly, scriptures prescribe tat chintanam, tat kathanam, tat prabodhanam, called Brahmabhyasam as Nididhyasanam, to cure the disease of ignorance and disidentification with anatmas. So long as we are not asleep, we try to sleep, but the efforts and by themselves, when we are asleep, they disappear. The Brahmaivasmiti Vasana thought also disappears with the realization of the Brahman. Process of Nididhyasanam is explained in the next sloka. And here it says, Vivikta Desho Asinaha, means meditating in a secluded place with no disturbances caused by internal or external factors. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampattihi is the fourfold qualifications required for a seeker in the spiritual path. They are Vivekaha, discrimination, Vairagyam, Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi, the sixfold disciplines in order to bring equilibrium to the mind and emotions, controlling the resonating cravings and expectations, and the last one, Mumukshutvam, intense desire to get liberated. The words viragaha, vijitendriyaha indicate dispassion, and shamadhi shatka sampattihi, discipline to control the senses, including both gnanendriyas and karmendriyas. It results in controlling the mind also. These prepare the mind to meditate on the infinite Atman with unflinching attention. One should meditate upon the Atma as described in the Shloka 36. Here, Bhavayet means it is Nididhyasanam with Ananyadhihi. Having established Satyatva of Brahman, Bhagavad-pada now focuses on the falsity of Drushya Jagat, that is in the Shloka 39. Complete abundance in the self is being described in this shloka. Discrimination between Atma and Anatma using the methodology of Drushya Vivekam is described. Druk is the seer or the experiencer, that is Atman, and Drushyam is the seen or the experienced, that is Anatma. The seeker realizes the supremacy of the Atman, that is the subject, and as a result, the objective world disappears in the intellect. When the existence of rope is realized, rope snake disappears. Similarly, the world of objects and perceptions merge into the Atman. The Atma is compared to Akashaha, the space. The Akasha is Asangaha, pure, even though all Drushas are located in it, and it is all pervading. Here, purity translates into the total desirelessness. The Shloka 40, the assertion of Atma is seen. Paramarthavit is a Tivra Mumukshu. He has either realized that Parama Purusharthaha is Brahman, or perceived the ultimate truth, Brahma eva asmi, Brahmaiva asmi iti, by practice of Nididhyasanam persistently. He has realized that the illusory world of names and forms are superimposed on Brahman, the knower of Jivatma, the self, and Paramatma, who is Paripurna Chidananda Swarupaha, or same. A piece of rope may be perceived as a piece of garland lying on the ground, or a snake, or flow of water, or a crack in the ground, but the reality is the rope only. Similarly, Paramarthavit, One who has realized the Supreme abides in the self always and does not see the world as really existing. Thank you. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Today, for the first time, we will open the original textbook, Tattvabodha. Until now, we were looking into the translations. Let us see what Tattvabodha, the original work, is. Much of it is a repetition of what I did in the last class. But here, the source book is the original book, and I will be focusing on the original Sanskrit. Whenever we study our scriptures, you will see the importance of some basic Sanskrit knowledge because the interpretation now becomes more clear. Tattvabodha is authored by Shankaracharya. It gives the essence of all Vedanta, and it also, the various terminology of Vedanta is very nicely explained. It is called a Prakarana Grantha. A Prakarana Grantha is a human composition for us to understand the Mula Grantha. The Mula Grantha are the original Vedas, in particular the Vedanta or the Upanishad. This is how Tattvabodha starts. Shankaracharya, who composed this, begins with a adoration to his guru, and it goes like this. Vasudevendra yogendram natva jnanam pradam gurum mumukshunam hitarthaya tattvabodho vidhiyate. Vasudevendra yogendra. Whenever you use the word yogendram, it means the pinnacle or the king of all the yogis. The reference is for Vasudeva, his guru. Natva means I prostrate, I do namaste. To whom? Jnanam pradam guru, the one who bestows, one who gives us knowledge. To whom? Mumukshu nam hitarthaya. Hitarthaya is for the benefit of those who are yearning for moksha. Tattvabodho abhidhiyate. Tattvabodha. Tattva means truth. The knowledge of the truth is going to be expounded, is going to be delivered. So this is how the original Sanskrit begins the opening words. After the initial prayer, the opening words go like this. Sadhana Chatustaya Sampannadikarim Sampannadikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshami. So I am going to teach you. The word Vakshami means first person. I am going to teach you. What am I going to teach you? Tattva Viveka Prakaram. All these words will be explained. Tattva means God. Viveka means discrimination. Sadhana Chatustaya Sampannadikarinam. Those fourfold qualifications for those who are seekers of moksha. This is how the original word goes. Sadhana Chatustaya Sampannadikar, for those who are endowed with the fourfold qualifications. Moksha Sadhana Bhutam, the means of liberation. Tattva Viveka Prakaram, the mode of inquiry into the nature of reality. Vakshamaha, we shall teach. This is how the teacher begins. And the opening sentence is a question. So the whole of the Tattvabodha is like a dialogue between a student coming to the teacher, and the student is asking, Sadhana Chatustaya Kim? What is this Sadhana Chatustaya? And the teacher gives a long sentence. Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha Iha Amurta Phala Bhoga Viragaha Shamadhi Shakta Sampatti Mumukshutvam che iti. So the teacher will say the fourfold qualifications are viveka, which means discrimination, vairagya, which means dispassion, mumukshutvam means the desire for moksha, and shakta sampatti means the sixfold discipline. What are the sixfold discipline? Shama or mind mastery, dhamma or mastery of the sense organs, uparama means to turn within, titiksha or mental toughness, shraddha means absolute trust, and samadhana means the focusing capacity. We continue the question answer session. So the student continues and says, Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka Kaha. What is this distinction between that which is permanent and that which is impermanent? So the teacher replies, Nitya Vastu Ekam Brahma. Nitya, the permanent thing is only one, that is Brahman. Tad Vyatiriktam Sarvam Anityam. Everything else is impermanent. I am Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. And this is the distinction between that which is permanent and that which is impermanent. So what is Viveka, or the ability to discriminate? Remember, the word discrimination normally is taken in a negative sense. But the word discrimination, even in medical language, when a person is very sensitive, you're able to make out a distinction in small grades. That is what we are looking at. Here it means right judgment, right understanding. And the right understanding is Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. What is that which is permanent and what is that impermanent? Tattvabodha says, Brahman alone is real and permanent. Everything else other than Brahman is unreal and impermanent. Does it mean that this world is useless? Certainly not. The world is wonderful for us for education. It is an opportunity for us for service. It is an opportunity for us to growth. However, for entertainment, for growth, for service, turn to the world. But if you want lasting peace, security, and happiness, we need to turn to Brahman or God. And this understanding and being convinced about this, and that is how the student is taught. This is called Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha. The student continues the question to the teacher, Viragaha Kaha. What is this thing called Viragaha? And this is the words of the teacher. Iha Swarga Bokeshu Icha Rahitvam. Iha, here, and Swarga, that means hereafter, Bogeshu. We need to fulfill our desires. One who does not have that desire. That means even though I have earned a lot in this world, even though I have learned a lot of punya, I have no desire to encash this, because that is called dispassion or viraga. Viraga also means free from strong likes and dislikes. The word raga means strong likes. Viraga means free from strong likes. So there is no need to encash the benefits from the accomplishments in this world or hereafter. It does not mean giving up all your responsibilities, certainly not. Dispassion or viraga comes from discrimination. Once I know that Brahman is the only reality and the world is only a seeming reality like a rainbow or a mirage, I'm not going to depend on appearances for my peace, security, and happiness. If this I am very clear of, then I have a glimpse or an understanding of what is viraga. The student continues with a simple question. Mumukshatvam kim? What is this thing called mumukshutvam? So the teacher replies, Moksho me bhuyat iti icha. That desire to attain moksha is called mumukshutvam. To explain further, mumukshutvam means the desire for freedom. Where has the bondage come? Whenever I depend upon the world, whenever I depend upon anything anitya, I have a certain bondage. Mumukshutvam means a strong desire to be free from samsara. The student continues, and the question is, Shama Adi Sadhana Sampatti Ka. What is this sixfold wealth? And the teacher replies, Shamo Dama Uparati Titiksha Shraddha Samadhanam Cha Iti. So these are the sixfold qualifications: Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana. Now the student continues, Shama Ka, and the answer is Manonigraha. That means control of the mind. Shama also means mind mastery, tranquility of mind. A mind that is free from all stresses and strains. And when a person is free from all stress and strain, you have the ability to regulate your mind and to focus your mind on whatever is required. The student continues, Dama Kaha Chakshur Adi Bahya Indriya Nigraha. Eyes, etc. The sense organs that focus on the external, the ability to control, that is called Damaha. In English, it is sensory mastery, directing up our sensory organs on the chosen field. See only what is proper, hear only that which is proper, and so on. The student continues, Uparamaha Kaha. What is this word called Uparama? So the teacher replies, Swadharma Anushtanam Eva. The ability to be focused on what I am supposed to do according to my ashrama and according to my varna. So our varna and ashrama clearly determines, that means our roles in life are very clearly defined. And if I am able to focus on that what is called as Uparama. Uparama is Vedantic time management. For a student of Vedanta, time is very important. We know our human life is extremely short. We also know that before this body drops, I should be able to get Brahma Vidya. All of us have so many worldly responsibilities. Stephen Covey has written a book called First Things First. What is very important should not be at the expense of that which is less important. My worldly activities are required for my basic survival and for the roles that I have to play. But however, that is not my primary responsibility. I am here only to fulfill my Parama Purushartha or Moksha. And if I decide that is important, everything else is less important. Of course, I have to work my time in such a way that I work on Artha, Kama, Dharma, all right. But then I skinch my time so that I get more and more time for Parama Purushartha. And when a person begins to withdraw from what is called, this is not a truly English word, extrovertedness. That means focusing on the activities outside, because the real treasures are within me. That means it is, the wrong word is introverted. There is a nice verse which comes in the Kathopanishad, where, where the creator, Swayambhuhu, the Swayambhuhu has done something really wrong. He says he has focused all our sense organs outside. Paranchakani Vyatarnat Swayambhuhu. Swayambhuhu, Paranchakarni Vyatharnat. He has done something wrong. He has focused all our sense organs outside when the real treasure is within. Paranchakarni Vyatharnat Swayambhuhu. So the courageous one, Kaschit Dhiraha, will be able to avrita chakshu, turn all the sense organ inwards. That is called Uparama. The student continues, Titiksha Kaha. What is this Titiksha? And so this teacher continues, Sitoshna Sukha Dukkadi Sahishnutvam. The ability to be able to handle heat, cold, sukha, dukkha with a sense of equanimity or mental toughness. We have a nice verse, which I very much like in the Bhagavad Gita, on titiksha. Matra sparshasu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkadaya agama pahino anityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. Then the teacher student continues. So what is titiksha? I have already explained that. Then Shraddha ki drishi. What is this thing called Shraddha? And the teacher explains Guru Vedanta Vakyadishu Vishwasaha Shraddha. That means whatever my Guru says, whatever the words of the Vedanta should be taken as gospel truth, spelt by God. About that, I have no doubt whatsoever. If it does not appeal to me, for example, the scriptures will say, Brahma Satyam, that which I cannot see is the only reality, and the world around me is mithya, which I can absolutely see. I cannot understand that. But then, pending my own understanding, I believe, although it is not my experience, I have shraddha, I have trust that what my guru and the teacher says is true. So it is not a blind faith, but it is a non-critical approach, giving the benefit of the teacher until I clearly understand. Once the student has Shraddha, then it is like having a sixth sense organ, which is very valuable. And finally, this last question that the student has is Samadhanam Kim? What is this Samadhanam? And the teacher gives a one-word answer. Chitta ekagrata, the single pointed mind, the ability to focus on what is ahead of us, being 100% there. So this is what is called. And then finally, this is not in the original text. This is only for us. Swamiji has given us original information because the original Tattvabodha will not tell us how do we get these qualifications. Viveka, Vairagya, and Mumukshutvam is available to us by doing Karma Yoga. And by doing Upasana Yoga, you get Shama Adi Shakta Sampatti. Swamiji also insists that just that will not do. A student of Vedanta should have ethical and moral values. And this is how this chapter, the introductory chapter, concludes. Yetad sadhana chatustayam tatastatva viveka adhikarino bhavanti. And that is how you become a viveki purusha. You get all the qualifications. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Dr. Sanjay Banakal will explain the first verse of today's class in Atmabodha. Dr. Sanjay, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Till now, we were going through the verses dealing with Nididhyasanam in the Atmabodha. Spiritual journey involves Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, culminating in the liberation. Through Shravanam, I come to know the essence of Vedanta, that is, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Through Mananam, this fact is made clear by eliminating any doubt that I have with this teaching. However, because of my habitual thinking, which might have originated from several births, I behave as though I am this body-mind complex and give reality to the world. This habitual notion is gutted off by Nididhyasanam, wherein I constantly dwell upon the Vedantic teaching till this notion is removed. This is a way of training the mind. Then, what happens at the end of this journey? The result of this journey is described from verses 40 onwards in Atmabodha. Let us come to the verse number 40. Rupa varnadikam sarvam vihaya paramarthavit paripurna chidananda Swarupena Paramarthavita. Next slide, yeah. One who knows the ultimate meaning of life, that is the Parama Artha. It can also mean the Parama Purushartha, the ultimate goal of life. It is the moksha, liberation. A jnani, it refers to the jnani. He is the one who has gone through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam and ultimately has got liberated. Such a person is called here as Paramarthavit. Sarvam Vihaya. He will reject everything as false or mithya, not real. Rupa Varnadikam. That which has colors and attributes, etc. In short, everything that we experience. Shankaracharya condenses the whole Anatma Prapancha into this one word, that is Rupa Varnadikam. And the Jnani considers whatever he experiences as mithya, the Anatma is mithya. Here, Varnadikam, Varna can also mean our Varnashrama dharma, such as Brahmana, Shudra, etc. Our identification with these roles are very, very strong, and they are the ones which can give us samsara. So any identification with anything other than Atma will give us samsara. It is very easy for us to identify with these roles such as father, mother, son, daughter, Indian, Asian, Hindu, Muslim, Brahmana, Shudra, even with our own profession, a doctor, lawyer, we identify with and suffer. That is samsara. Whereas a jnani knows that these are all mithya and he doesn't give any importance. And that's what he means by he rejects everything. So he rejects everything because he is a true sannyasi. He does not give any reality to the world. When I do not give any reality to this world, where is the question of samsara? Life is nothing but a drama to be acted upon very well, but not to be taken seriously. And he says, such a person abides in the reality, that is, Paripurna Chidananda Swarupa. I am the consciousness unlimited. Thank you, Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. There is one message which Swami Anubhavananda gives all the time and worth remembering. Whatever we give a lot of importance to, that something can be the cause of all our problems in our life. And the more we are into Vedanta, we realize that we are shift the importance from Anatma to Atma. And when you give less and less importance, then what we do, we play our role sincerely, but don't get seriously affected by all the ups and downs in the world. The next verse will be explained by Mamta Shankar. Mamta, please.
Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Chanting the verse 41. Natridjnana Jnaya Bhedaha Parenatmani Vidyate Chidanandaika Rupatvat Dipyate Swayameva Tat. In the next slide, in this verse, Shankaracharya talks about how Vedantic meditation, which is also known as Nididhyasanam, is different from all other types of meditations or upasanas. Upasanam involves three factors, that is, meditator, who is the subject, always which has an object of meditation, generally in the form of Vishnu, Shiva, Krishna, etc. That is, meditating God with form. So, meditator, upasaka, and object of meditation, upasyam, are different. And the third factor in the upasana is the mind, which is the instrument with which I visualize the deity. That is, the thought about Ishvara or God with form arise in the mind. So, upasana has dhyata, the meditator, dhyanam, meditation itself, and dhyayam, the object of meditation. All these three factors put together is known as Triputi of Upasana. In the next slide. However, Vedantic meditation is meditation on our essential nature, the higher I or the self. So, subject, the meditator, and object of meditation are the same. That is, which is the self or Atma or Brahman. Unlike Upasana, here we don't require thoughts in the mind for Atma to be evident. In fact, thoughts are evident or appear due to the self-evident Atma. So in Vedantic meditation, there is no tripiti. There is no dhyata, dhyanam and dhyayam. Now in the next slide, looking at the verse, Gnatra Jnana Gneya Bhedaha means Bhedaha, division in the form of Gnatra Jnana Gneya. That is Dhyata, Dhyanam, Deyam, division in that form which we just discussed. Parenatmani Vidyate is not there in a Gnani at Paramarthika level. That is when one realizes and abides by one's true nature, the self, which is the Paramatma. In the next slide, Gnatra Jnana Jneya or meditator, meditation and object of meditation respectively are in the form of consciousness or Chidanandaika Rupa or the Atma itself. That is, they all appear in me, the consciousness or Atma. Chidanandaika Rupatvat Deepyate Swayameva Tata. That is, this Atma or consciousness is self-evident without requiring any thought to illumine or objectify it. That means Vedantic meditation would mean a thoughtless meditation or a thoughtless state. In the next slide, however, we have to understand that in Vedantic meditation, we entertain thoughts, but not to objectify the Atma, but to negate Anatma, which we have identified with all along due to ignorance. That is, thoughts in the form of I am not body, mind, senses, so on. And then we claim Aham Brahmasmi, which is also a thought in the mind. This again is not to objectify Atma, but to negate the idea of limitation or misconception. That is to negate the physical, emotional, intellectual attributes associated with us. Elaborating it further to understand it better, we identify with limited body, mind, and senses and its associated attributes. For example, we describe or identify ourselves using physical characteristics like being young or old, tall or short, or having certain complexion, and so on. Similarly, we associate ourselves with emotional states such as happiness or sadness, and intellectual qualities like reasoning ability or discriminatory, to name a few. When we say Aham Brahmasmi in Nididhyasanam or Vedantic meditation phase, this thought asserts that I am not limited body, mind, senses. That is, while the body may be young or aging and the mind may experience emotions such as sadness or anger, these are merely objects of experience. I am neither the body nor the mind. I am the all-pervading, eternal, untouched Atma or Brahman. In the next slide, Swamiji explains with an example given by Swami Chinmayananda to help in further understanding the Vedantic meditation process. It is about a sculpture sculpting an idol of a deity with a rock. A sculptor begins with a rough chisel to remove large chunks of rock, gradually shifting to finer tools to carefully carve out the details, and transforming the rock into the divine form of a deity such as Lord Ganesha, Krishna, Rama, so on. In the next slide, similarly, Brahman or Atma is Jiva or individual being without the attributes of the Anatma, that is body, mind, senses. The chisel here can be compared to Neti Neti or negation, that is we are not the body, mind, worry, happiness, so on. What is eventually left is Brahman, that is after chiseling in the form of Shravana Manana Nididhyasana and assimilating the Vedantic teaching, we discovered Jivatma is Paramatma or Brahman, the all-pervading eternal one. That is, individual being, I myself am Paramatma or Brahman, self-evident and self-illumining, which is Deepyate Swayameva in the verse. In the last slide, I would like to conclude with a quote from Chinmayananda Swamiji that I came across. Through faith in God, we reach that faith in us. That faith is ours and we must live it. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Mamta, for a nice explanation of an important verse where we are seeing the distinction between any interaction with Anatma or any interaction with Atma. whenever you are dealing with an Atma, that means an object of experience, so there is this triputi. That means there is that object, there is the process of interacting through the mind and sense organs, and there is the observer or pramata, pramana, prameya. This is the triputi. But when it comes to interacting with myself, so nicely said in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks what is the quality avastita prajna, Atman eva Atmana tushtaha. When I dwell and get fulfilled in myself. Now, when I focus on this I am, I don't need any mind or sense organs. We'll have a greater elaboration on the same verse by Neeta also. Neeta, please.
Thank you, sir. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. ज्ञातृज्ञाननेयभेदः परनात्मनि विद्यते चिदानन्दैकरूपत्वात् दीप्यते स्वयमेव हि ज्ञात्र ज्ञाननेयभेदः परनात्मनि न विद्यते. The division of the knower, known, and knowledge of the self does not exist in the absolute. Jnatru means the knower. Here it refers to the knower of the self, jnana, which is the knowledge of the self, and neya, which is the object of knowledge, which is also the self. This next slide. We know that there are three levels of reality: the paramarthika, the vyavaharika, and the pratibhasika reality, satyam. We have seen the vyavaharika is like the pratibhasika reality and is an apparent relative reality. They exist only under certain conditions and are not absolute. They are illusory. In this, in the next slide, we will see that Adi Shankaracharya mentions the triangular division of the knower, known, and the knowledge does not exist in the absolute. There is no separation of the three. In fact, all the triputis, of the stula, shukshma, karana, sharira, the waker, dreamers, the deep sleeper, all these exist only at the vyavaharika level. I must understand the meditator, meditation, and the object of meditation are all the same at the absolute level. I lend existence to the triangular formats. All the triputis and many more exist only mentioned in this slide, and many more exist only at the vyavaharika level of reality. So the doubt will arise, if the triputi is not there, how does the knowledge take place? The moment I say I know Brahman, Brahman becomes the object and I the subject, different from the object Brahman. So Dvaitam will rush in. The wise man understands knowledge happens only in the triangular format of the knower, known knowledge, and this happens only at the vyavaharika level with the instrument of the mind, intellect. So yes, the knowledge which is there is mithya because it's at the vyavaharika level, but it is enough to liberate us from the mithya bondage, and it is even the liberation which we get is mithya because Atma is ever free. From the Paramarthika level, I am free from all status and actions, including know her own. Moving to the second line, Adi Shankaracharya says, Chidananda Eika Rupatvad Swayam Eva Dipyate. The self is neither the object nor the subject, but beyond the subject-object duality. Brahman is the only substance, Eka. There is no second substance called world. Like wooden table is not a separate substance from the wood. We cannot count them as two. So same way, the three triputis are all in Brahman. Then Adi Shankaracharya says, Swayam eva dipyate. My true nature, the Atma, is self-evident without requiring any thought to illuminate. While the relative reality depends upon the mind for its existence, the absolute is self-effulgent. It reveals itself. We do not require any sense organ or the mind or the intellect to reveal it. Actually, nor can they reveal it. Thoughts are necessary to reveal an object. Thoughts are not necessary to reveal Atma, my real nature. In fact, Atma illumines the thoughts and Atma illumines the absence of thoughts also. It is in the light of consciousness that everything is revealed. Technically, we can say here that there is no phala vyapti, but there is only vritti vyapti. Next slide, sir. Yeah. So now the second doubt, there is, a doubt may be created that if Atma is self-evident and no thought is required, then for illuminating the Atma, then Vedantic meditation must be a thoughtless state. But we learned earlier in the 38th and 39th verse of this text that Vedantic meditation involves thinking. It involves thoughts. So the logical answer is thoughts are not required to reveal Atma and to make Atma evident, but thoughts are entertained to falsify and deliberately negate the Anatma. In Vedantic meditation, thoughts such as I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not this jiva bha, the world is an illusion, are encouraged. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. What about the thought aham brahma asmi? That one may argue that that thought of aham brahma asmi is not negating an anatma. So our guru explains the aham brahma asmi thought is deliberately entertained, not for objectifying an atma or illuminating atma, Brahman, but rather to negate the idea of limitation, to negate the strong sense of individuality which we have, that I am this person. The idea of localization and limitation is very strong in us. That therefore, when I say aham brahma, I am saying I am not limited. When I am saying I am nitya, means I'm not mortal. To negate the strong sense of mortality which we have. Adi Shankaracharya mentions, all of Vedantic teaching is for negating the attributes from me. It is like removing of the chips, like Mamtaji explained, with a chisel of neti neti. We keep on dropping these attributes. And when everything is negated, what is left is I am Brahman. In conclusion, next slide. Verses 31 to 41 are Nididhyasnam verses. Adi Shankaracharya is addressing the one who has already gone through Shravananam and Mananam. Vedantic meditation practice is not to create any kind of divinity. Divinity is already there. Essentially, we are divine. Vedantic meditation is to continuously reduce the importance of this jiva bhav that we have. It is actually an individualized sadhana to remove the individuality. Vedantic meditation involves thoughts. Thoughts are necessary to assert our real nature, which is self-illumining, swayam deepyate. But thoughts are not necessary to illuminate our real nature, but thoughts are required to negate what we are not, to break away from our habitual body consciousness and our vasanas. In this verse, Adi Shankaracharya explains, Natru Neya Jnanam, the division of knower, known, and knowledge is not there at the absolute level. Knowledge takes place only at the Vyavaharika level. My real nature is Chidananda Rupa. I alone am Eka. No plurality of the three. Triputi is there. Hari Om. I am truly grateful to Dr. Hegde and Param Vedanta and to all my gurus. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Neeta, for a nice explanation of this verse. I just want you to look around the room. You will see so many things in the room. To know something is there. There is a wall, there is a light, there's a light switch. I have to see. So there is a process of knowing I know the object. Now, if I have to ask you, are you there To know the fact that I am, I don't need my mind or sense organs. I know I am without the agency of my mind. But what I do not know is this I am, this conscious being who is existent, that this I am is Brahman. That I do not know. I think I'm this little body who was born, I'm a man, I'm a doctor, and so on. This is an idea that I have evolved through various factors. But the fact that I am Brahman, I do not know. When I go to Guru and teachers, their whole effort is to tell you that this I am, that this knowledge of your existence and consciousness is not limited, but it is limitless. And this limitless existent consciousness is Brahman. To be able to claim I am Brahman is the whole exercise of Vedanta. And once you have this exercise, can we meditate on this? Can this idea enter into our head somehow? How to drill this into our head? That will be explained in the next verse by Dr. Anupama. Dr. Anupama, please.
Thank you, sir. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verse 42. Evam Atma Arano Dhyana Dhyana Mathane Satatam Krite Udita Avagati Jwala Sarva Ajnanendhanam Dahet. We're now moving to the Jnana Phalam part of Tattvabodha. The benefit of practicing Jnana Yoga, that is Shravana Mananam Nididhyasanam, is Jivan Mukti or Videha Mukti. This is a total transformation of personality because Brahmavit Apnoti Param. The knower of Brahman is one with Brahman. This knowledge helps me drop the misconception of division between me and God. Bheda, Branti, Nivritti. With Jnanam, there is a destruction of ignorance or Ajnanam, just as with the arrival of light, darkness is destroyed. Simultaneously, all Adhyasa based on Jnanam are also destroyed. Just as Mukha Darshanam is through Dharpana Darshanam, there is no other means of seeing our face, so also Atma Vichara can be done only through Shastra Vichara. We cannot directly look at the Atma. This mantra we see is based on Kaivalya Upanishad, mantra 11, which goes like this. Atmanam Arnim Kritva Pranavam cha Uttararanam Jnana Nirmathanam Abhyasat Pashan Daheti Panditaha. Atmanam Arani Kritva. Here Atma means mind or Antakarana. Pranavacha Uttararanim. The Veda Vakyam or Mahavakyas are the Uttara Arani. Jnana Nirmathana Abhyasa means repeated churning to generate sparks of knowledge. Krishna has also compared self-knowledge to fire or light. He says, this fire of knowledge burns all shackles of bondage. In chapter 4, verse 37, he had said, Yata idhansi samidaha agni basmasat kurute Arjuna, jnana agnihi sarva karmani basmasat kurute tatha. In the earlier years, before starting a Vedic ritual, a fire was kindled by a technique called Arani Mathanam. No matchbox or lighters were used. A lower block of wood with a slot in it is called the Adho Arani. It is fixed and stable, whereas the upper, the Uttararani, is a rod which rotates within this slot and creates friction due to which sparks arise. Out of these sparks, the priest produces the Agni which is used for the Homa. Mantras were chanted during this process. The comparison here is to Nididhyasanam. The mind is compared to the lower Aruni, which should be steady. Shastra Vakya, Mahavakya, or Omkara is compared to the upper Aruni. The Guru inserts Shastra Upadesha rod into the mind of the student and churns it. And this is the process of Dhyana Mathana or Vedanta Vichara. For how long or how often should this be done? The mantra says Satatam, until the butter of knowledge emerges. Udita Avagata Jwala is the result of Shravana Manana Nidithyasana or Dhyana Mathanam. What is Avagati Jwala? Avagati means Aham Brahmasmi Drida Jnanam, assimilated vision or a new perspective of the world. Udita means emerged. This is the flame of clear knowledge which emerges in the mind of the meditator or student, just as fire in a ritual burns all the oblations offered to it. In Vedanta sadhana, Ajnanam, which is offered into Jnana Agni, is destroyed. So we see Ajnanam is the primary bag of fuel which is being loaded off into this Jnana Agni, and along with it goes Adhyasam, which includes Kartritva Bhavana, Bhoktritva Bhavana, the feeling of being under the grip of Prarabdha, Sanchita, Agami, all our anxieties, fear, in short, samsara, and basically everything other than Atma, which we know is the only existent thing. Ekam eva advitiyam. Everything else is Maya or Maya Karyam. Sarva Ajnana is the indhanam or fuel offered to this Jnana Agni. This verse therefore means the flame of knowledge kindled by Shravana Manana Nidithyasana, Guru Shastra Upadesha, Mahavakya Vichara burns the fuel of ignorance and consequently samsara. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anupama, for explaining this verse at very short notice about the importance of the Guru and the Shastras churning in our mind to be able to kindle that knowledge which burns away all our ignorances and all our karmas. The last verse for today will be by Sharmila. Sharmila, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Verse 43. Aruneneva bodhena purvam santamase hrite tata avirbhaved atma swayamevam shumaniva. As the sun is revealed by dawn after the destruction of darkness, thereafter the self is revealed like the sun which shines by itself. In the next slide, we see Sri Adi Shankara compares in this verse the sun to the Atma, darkness to ignorance, and dawn to self-knowledge. In the next verse, we see the word meanings. So let us understand the words. Aruneva bodhena, due to knowledge which is like dawn. Aruna is dawn. Dawn is the light of the sun just before it rises above the horizon. Bodha is knowledge. In the next slide, we see Purvam san tamase hrite. The pitch darkness is removed. Tamase is pitch darkness or ignorance. Hrite is removed. In the next slide, Tata avirbhavet atma swayam evamshu maniva. Tata is thereafter. Avirbhavate atma, the self-revealing atma shows itself. Swayam evamshu maniva, like the sun which shines by itself. In the next slide, Swami Paramatmananda ji gives an example from Panchadashi to show the difference between Atma Jnanam and Anatma Jnanam. In a pitch dark room, there are two candles. One is lit and the other is not. Both of them are covered by a pot. When we want to see the lighted candle, in the next slide, we need to remove the pot and we can see the lighted candle. This lighted candle is luminous, hence there is no other function to perform to see it. In the case of the unlit candle, when we remove the pot, we cannot see the candle as the room is dark. So we have to light the candle or use another source of light, like the torch light, to see the candle. Next slide. And the next slide. So two functions are required here. The first is to remove the pot, which is vritti vyapti. The second is to light the candle, which is phala vyapti. Only one function is required in the case of the lighted candle, and that is vritti vyapti. The torch light is not required in this case. Similarly, the Atma is like the lighted candle, and Ajnanam or ignorance is like the pot. Bodham or knowledge is to remove ignorance. Thereafter, the Atma, which is self-effulgent, reveals itself. Concluding, Sri Shankaracharya uses the example of the sunrise to explain how the Atma is revealed by the removal of ignorance through knowledge. Thank you. Hari Om, sir.
Thank you very much, Sharmila, for a very nice explanation of a very complex verse. The teacher is trying to explain what is vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. And for anything that is self-illumined, only one process is required, that is to remove the ignorance, because it is self-shining. For example, in the previous example that I said, to know I am, I don't need my mind or sense organs. I don't need anybody to tell me that I am. I know I am. But what I do not know is I am Brahman. So this knowledge, because here it is self-shining. We don't need a torch to tell that I am. So there is something called vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. And as far as Brahma Vidya is concerned, only removal of ignorance is required. You don't need an illuminator to tell you who you are. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
On behalf of Param Vedanta, a hearty thanks to Dr. Timoppa Hegde sir, to all the speakers of the day for a wonderful session, and hearty thanks also to all the Vedantins who have joined us today. Friends, remember to join us again at 6:45 p.m. on Monday, 10th February, for the 65th session of GIFT, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation, and benefit from the enlightening knowledge from our one and only life manual, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Let us chant the Shanti Mantra and conclude today's session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnameva Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.